We're back for more action, more cricketing action, but I think we can also talk about more conversational action because at the very top we can tell you that we've got a delay as far as the toss is concerned. Doesn't look quite as bleak and gloomy as it was in Wellington, but there still has been a bit of rain around. Typically, when the cricketing caravan comes to any town, somehow the rain seems to follow it. Beautiful yesterday, the day before, blue skies in the lovely Art Deco town of Napier in New Zealand. But now even the Art Deco buildings are covered in clouds. But the good news is the covers are on in the middle, but the players are out there having a bit of a warm-up. So hopefully we can have some more better news for you. But here on Cricbuzz Live, we always have good news because rain or shine, we've got the best experts in the house. DK and PP, Dinesh, Karthik, Parthiv Patel, looking sharp as always, gentlemen.
Yep. Thank you so much. PP is looking rather sharp, moving on from a purple to a blue and looking very smart in this.
Yeah,
It can be frustrating, as we always say, in terms of the weather, especially when you turn up. I mean, they would have reached Napier yesterday and seen, wow, beautiful blue skies, people posting photographs of that. And then you come on a match day, starts with sunny weather, and about 12 noon, the rain comes in a little bit.
You were just saying Napier is a coastal town, and when obviously the rains come from that side of, from the sea, it's obviously going to take that much longer. At times, it could get really delayed. Napier is a very interesting town. It's very small. In my experience, I've taken many flights, but that was the first time I noticed when I left from Auckland to Napier, there was no security check. I was shocked. Like, how can a city not have a security check, when you take a flight? That's how chill that place is, and, so serene and pristine and beautiful, and a lovely ground as well. I remember in that ground, when we played a test match, Gambhir played a terrific knock in trying to save the test match. They literally batted one day. So, some fond memories there, a lovely city, and most importantly for a T20, it is a high-scoring venue. And over the years, even in ODIs, they've produced some big results because the ground is slightly small, some big scores rather, because the ground is slightly small, and it's a terrific wicket to bat on as well.
Yeah, England have a 241 there. We've had scores around 180, 190, 200 over there. But yeah, since DK started about the place itself, your memories of Napier, the town?
Yeah, I think the first time I went in 2002 in Napier, I remember playing a game that was a max 10 kind of a thing, which New Zealand had introduced. If you hit straight, you get double runs kind of thing, where I think India played that game. And yeah, I remember not taking the bus to the ground. The walk to the ground was so serene that everyone preferred to after the game just to have a little walk. And yeah, very very laid back, very very quiet. I think it's very difficult to find anyone after 6 o'clock in the evening, which we are not used to it. Maybe if you are finding a restaurant after 6:30, it was very difficult because everything was shut by 6:30, and so that's something which I clearly remember. And
yeah, that can happen in some of these lovely small towns. You've got to make sure you know some of the locals around there. But yeah, we'll give you some news in terms of what's happening at the ground. But we always like to keep an eye on what's happening in our part of the world, in India. And I think anyone who follows cricket would have been astounded by the feats of Narayan Jagadisan in the Vijay Hazare Trophy. 277 in individual score, 500 plus scored by Tamil Nadu. And I think we've got someone from that part of the world. I mean, we've obviously seen him being part of the Chennai squad there. I'm talking about the IPL squad. But why his 5 consecutive hundreds, the only person to do that in List A cricket?
For a start, I think we need to talk about him as a player. He's a very hard-working individual who's from Coimbatore. He's obviously shifted base to Chennai so they can play a lot more league cricket and be around the scene. And terrific cricketer, very good batsman. Really has improved his keeping skills, and this is what I think we were expecting for a long time now, because he was one of those big buck player coming from Tamil Nadu. I think it was the Baba brothers who were there last, and then we had a Washington Sundar, and then Jagadisan obviously came in, and right from the outset you knew he had something special about him, and it is so good to see how well he is doing. He's somebody who works really hard on his game, really has pushed himself, has got the nod for CSK. In the last 3-4 years, he's been part of the team, but has only got a handful of games. So it's really good to see him do so well. And the fact that, he really stands a great opportunity to get into an IPL 11 when picked because of the way he is batting. Yes, against Arunachal Pradesh, he's got 277. And any match you get 277, I feel is a big issue. Even if you're bowling underarms, to be there for so long to get 277 is good. But what I like more is the fact that he got 100 against Andhra, he got 100 against Haryana, and these are teams in that league, in that group, in the league stage, were important matches. That for me has a lot more value, because I think those were important games for Tamil Nadu, and he's done well there, and that is something that I'm really happy for him. And he's forged a brilliant opening partnership. For a long time, it was Murali Vijay and Abhinav Mukund for Tamil Nadu. I think PP has also played against us. We banked on them, but these guys have taken it, one step further and done phenomenally well for T, and it just augurs well for the state. It's just the start of a new bunch of players, in many ways just putting their foot in for Tamil Nadu, but it is just so nice to see how well he's done. And to get 500s on the trot and have a world record, I think you need to be very process-based, and huge kudos to him. And I must mention one person here, R. Prasanna, the coach, who's actually guided him in these last 2-3 months, because he was having a tough time, but just going through these few matches and doing so well, and rightly so. Jagdishan also has given credit to him, and it's just good to watch them come together and do something special.
Yeah, I think in all this 277 and partnership, I think we're just forgetting Sai Sudarshan's contribution as well. I think he's also scored 300s in Vijay Hazare Trophy as well. So this is something which DK was talking about. It's all about Abhinav Mukund and Murali Vijay. Now that Sai Sudarshan is someone who's been picked by Gujarat Titans as well. He's had a very good IPL to start with. So yeah, he's someone to look forward to. I think he's got a lot of talent as well. But yeah, scoring 500 in a one day Vijay Hazare Trophy is no big deal. But yeah, you got to understand against which sides you have taken. But you cannot take the credit away from them the way both of them batted.
Yeah, we'll come to that in a moment in terms of the scheduling, the opposition. But as you said, no matter what, even if you've got a bowling machine at the other end, somebody's got to do that. It's not that everyone does it. And that opening partnership was key. 400 plus in 38 overs. 416 in 38 overs was the opening partnership for that. And I was actually following the game, and I had sort of forgotten for a moment Vijay Hazare was on. I assumed it was yet another Ranji game and that Tamil Nadu were going to pile up 800 runs. And then I said, oh, they've stopped batting. Why have they stopped batting? Oh, it's 50 overs, 500 plus.
Yeah, I was reading your tweets when I was watching under 25 game yesterday, and yeah, when everyone was talking about only this, because that's huge. It is a world record. More than this 277, just to get 500s in 5 consecutive innings is something ridiculous. How every time you go out there, even if you're playing against a club side, not many people can get those 500s in 5 innings, and that too in a one-day game where you are taking chances. There are possibilities of playing a false shot in trying to get the run rate up and all of that. But just 277s there. But I think the bigger achievement is to score those 500s in 5 innings.
But also, let's not forget, the end of the game was a 435-run victory margin for Tamil Nadu over Arunachal Pradesh. Now, you've got a feel for some of the newer sides who are coming in. Some people would just tend to say, look at the opposition. But the fact is that it's playing against the big boys in a sense. Is there a way of re-looking at the scheduling in terms of where they group them in, have tier systems, which there is, but here they were clubbed in the same group?
Yes, I really like the fact that these new northeastern states are getting an opportunity to play. I think let's make it very clear. It is very good for cricket, it is very good for India, and it is honorable for BCCI to give them the option. When I speak about northeastern teams being in the same group, I put out a tweet yesterday about the Vijay Hazare Trophy. I'm definitely not talking about Assam and Tripura. They have been there for some time now, and they have earned their stripes, and they deservedly need to be in the elite group. But what happens with the other younger teams, the newer teams? And I think Parthiv has a beautiful solution for it, which I think he should speak about as to how they can be inducted into the elite group or into the men's elite group in the near future. But for the moment, I'll allow him to speak on. I thought it was a great idea. I have an idea as well, but I think I'll speak after PP. But I think that's a very interesting way and a nice way to look at things.
I think, when we are talking about newer teams, the prime example is Chhattisgarh. Before Chhattisgarh were inducted into first class cricket, they were only playing till under 23. So they were developing. So I think whenever you cannot just go out there and compete against all these first class players, because first class level is big. It's just one step away from international cricket. So I think, if you want to develop states, maybe either you can play amongst themselves and get the best team to elite group, or just let them play till under 23, or get them to maybe 3-day games, try and understand more of games. So I think Chhattisgarh is a prime example. Now they are competing after playing for 4-5 years of under 23, under 19 junior cricket. Now they are competing. They can actually beat any side in first class cricket. So that's something which I'm sure BCCI can look into. There are a lot of solutions. I'm sure a lot of players would be suggesting a lot of things, but I think that's something which I would suggest, that have them just to play till under 23 and then get into the first class level.
I would go one step higher, and I would say, yes, you allow them the opportunity to represent and play against the normal teams in under 19 and under 23. That way you're building a player base for you to choose from. But allow them to play the men's Ranji Trophy if you feel the need, by all means. But keep them in a separate group. Like we have elite group, and we can split that into 2 and have 10 teams in each group. That will become 20. And then you have the plate group, which is 9 teams, which is the teams which obviously are not as good enough to be in the elite but in the plate. And then you have the 4th group, which is the northeastern group. Let them play amongst each other, and the topper plays the second place as a pre-quarter final in the plate group, and then come on to the quarter final. If they're good enough, they will definitely come. And why I really like PP's idea is, when you grow a player base as a young player, you definitely improve your cricket. You get the opportunity to play against good teams, and those stats, even if they might be skewed, doesn't matter so much. But once you bring them to the first class level, to the list A level, let's take an example. The second highest run the highest score ever was achieved by Alistair Brown. And who did he do it for? Surrey, against Gloucestershire, another proper county team. And where would you put it? Like, that is a phenomenal achievement when they have done it against another peer of theirs who is probably on the same league as them. That's when you can give them credit. And then you take Rohit Sharma's 264 that he got against Sri Lanka. That was one of the highest scores. And today somebody is crossed it against Arunachal Pradesh. And if he ends up being the highest run scorer, highest score, I just feel it's a little skewed. I just feel a little unfair on the players who have done so well against obviously, higher ranked teams or a similar level, and then do it here. By no means I'm taking credit away from a Jagdishan. I think he definitely deserves what he's achieved, because as I said before, to score 277 is phenomenal. But when you compare the stats and know that, he's gotten ahead, I just feel that it's unfair to a certain player. And I think that's where the stats get skewed. And if you put them in the league phase, the problem becomes, you're playing against some good teams, and then the team that you're competing against by chance plays the game against one of these lower ranked teams, northeastern teams. But if again, for another senior team, if they end up having a match which is rained out against that team, you're losing out on a run rate in a big way. Like, they've had a 435 run win. Their run rate has gone from +1 to +3.1, which has literally assured them of a number 1 spot in the group phase. They deserve it because they won all their matches, but I'm just saying it's getting skewed to a very unrealistic level, which is something that is not sitting well with me, because I see a lot of players posting real good scores against them, but how much value does it hold? How will you compare a 277 of a Jagdishan to a 165 that he scored against another good team? Where do you keep that? How do you compare both of that? And for me, that is the issue. The fact that they're not competing is very evident in the scorecard. 435 runs is the highest in the history of List A. And this is going to happen. Somebody is going to come and better it if you have more matches. And is that fair, is all I'm saying here.
Yeah, and you can just confirm that Mizoram, Meghalaya, Arunachal, Manipur, Nagaland haven't won a game yet, whereas the likes of Assam and Tripura, who we mentioned, Assam has lost just 1 game. Tripura have a couple of wins under their belt. So that gulf, even within that region, is quite evident. I think we've even seen it in school cricket. We had the likes of Prithvi Shaw and Arman Jafar coming up with huge scores. And then we had another young man who scored it against another school who couldn't actually bring up the same age group players because of some exams. And therefore, they brought in some under 10 players, and then a record was broken. And then you had to again see that, okay, look, this is not a record that should be looked at.
Yeah, but that's what it is now. But now, at the end of the day, now Jagdishan will be highest run scorer, individual highest run scorer in List A cricket. But that's something I'm going to agree with DK. I think that's something which can be looked at. They started doing it when there was full Ranji Trophy season last year, where they had a similar setup of the elite group, then the plate group, and then the newer teams. That's something which you suggested. That's something which happened when there was full season. but it was not happening in Vijay Hazare Trophy. So that's something, the same kind of thing which is happening in Ranji Trophy can be, implement in Vijay Hazare and Mushtaq Ali Trophy as well, because I remember playing a game against Nagaland where they batted 20 overs and they got 60 odd something, and we finished it off in 3 overs. So that's nothing to take away. We're not trying to underestimate, or we're not trying to take away this Northeast team, but it's just there are other teams who've been around. There are players who've been around, just to give them time and then get into the first class level, because I feel first class level is something is very big.
Last year, I think Jharkhand played a pre-quarter final against one of these teams. I'm not sure exactly who it was. They scored 800. And this team, found a way to score 200. They batted again and scored 600. Now, somebody's got a double 100 there. And what is the context and meaning of that? Like, to get a double 100 in first class cricket against an elite team is a hard job. Like, people end up with probably one or sometimes not. And then you score a double 100. And we can know how easy it is. And it's not like Jagadisan, let's say for an example, would have taken any confidence that, he couldn't have got from a previous 120 he got against Haryana. That will give him confidence, because, that he's playing against a good bowling attack under pressure. This one is just free runs in many ways, and he's just made maximum use of it. And that's where I give him credit, because it's sometimes very easy when you're batting so well to throw it away. But he's shown the composure, he's shown the skill to go out there and make it really count, and that I appreciate in him. But I would like BCCI to have a relook at how Vijay Hazare Trophy and Syed Mushtaq Ali can be looked at in terms of the younger northeastern teams that have come in. Again, Assam, Tripura, they by all means need the opportunity, and they're doing very well. In fact, Assam is topping the group right now as we speak, which is great. Meghalaya has had one win against Mumbai in the T20, which is obviously after so many matches. But I would love to see them fight against each other and become the best there, and then earn the opportunity to play against a team.
Yeah, I think Jagadish even said after the game that he was sort of focusing on his processes, playing, looking at ball, hitting ball, rather than looking at numbers. He didn't even realize how many runs he had scored when he actually ended up coming back. So that says something. And also, the parallel can be drawn to associate nations in international cricket. They will be seen at a time when maybe in 2007, Bermuda were thrown in the deep end in the 2007 World Cup. Now there's a process for them to get through, be the best among their lot, and then a Namibia or a UAE or a Netherlands, Scotland, Ireland, etc. Once they've pushed up to that level, they come and play in the big elite tournaments. But for now, let's also get back to what's happening at McLean Park in Napier. There was a bit of a shower even when we were having the discussion. The shower's gone away. There's a bit of blue sky and sunshine, and the main covers are coming off. So we should soon have a toss. Before we actually get into any discussions about possible playing 11s, about the fact that Kane Williamson's missing this particular game, let's get your question in there, because a lot of you have questions. Many were, of course, related to the Vijay Hazare Trophy. But the one that we picked, let's have a look at this particular one on hashtag AskCricbuzz What is the CB Live's panel take on the impact players substitute rule that was introduced in 2022? Will we see this implemented in IPL 2023, Parthiv?
See, I think I saw a lot of Mushtaq Ali games, and a lot of batsmen and a lot of bowlers. There are a lot of teams they used impact players, and that was a good experiment where that in that way you are allowing actually 12 players to play the game, and that's what you want. Sometimes you not everyone gets an opportunity, but here this idea was to just to get the toss out of the way. When you win the toss, and sometimes at the 9 o'clock game, if bowlers are doing really well, you can actually get an impact player and get an extra batsman into it. And if you're playing a night game and you've lost a toss and you are batting first, you can actually get an extra bowler if there is due or something. So that was probably the reason why they got this impact player rule in. And yeah, I think for IPL, there's a lot of it's not the easiest way to implement it, because there's a rule of only 4 foreigners can be on the ground at one point of time. So how do you change it, or how do you say whether a foreign player will be replaced by? So a foreign player can be replaced by an Indian player, an impact player, but can Indian player be replaced by foreign player? That means there will be 5 players on the field, maybe 5 players on the park. So that's something which obviously they'll look into it. So yeah, it's just not easy when you're changing rules, or when you're implementing something. There has to be a lot of pros and cons goes into it. But at the end of the day, everyone is trying to make sure that we can can have an exciting game. We can get as many players get involved in playing 11 or to say playing 12. So that's something which, I'm sure BCCI will think about it.
Yeah, there are pros and cons of this. We had the super sub rule that came into international cricket a while ago. This is maybe just a slight first cousin of that kind of a rule. But there has, as I said, there have to be pros and cons of every rule.
Absolutely. I think, it's a very interesting rule, and I'm happy that we are thinking laterally to provide some more entertainment. But, you have to understand T20 by format is the fastest developing format. There are so many, intricacies around the whole sport. If at all anything, we should just let T20 grow on its own, which is organically growing at a very fast rate. What it was in 2007 is definitely very different to what it is in 2022. I think these rules, if there is a format that requires a little bit of injection of excitement, it is definitely the ODI format, and that needs to be looked into, because I think the people's attention span and the way they look at ODI cricket has changed a lot over the years. There are not as many takers for it that there was a decade ago. So that is the format that I would like to see a lot more of these trials being tried, to see if there is anything that they can do to spice it up, because we all can see that the interest in 50 over cricket is diminishing compared to T20 cricket. Definitely.
Yep, there's the pitch as we speak. It's not a 50 over game, it's very much a 20 over game. As things stand, it's still a 20 over game. We've still got an hour before overs are lost, but we're far away from that at the moment. Quick pitch inspection happening at the moment. But the one thing we do know in terms of playing personnel, and we briefly mentioned it at the end of game number 2, is that Kane Williamson is not going to be part of the playing 11. Tim Southee will be leading the way. So in a sense, an opportunity for someone in that middle order, an opportunity for New Zealand to have a look at life without Kane in that sense.
For the starter, I thought if there was an appointment, I think he could have easily said it before the series started, because I'm sure he didn't take an appointment just after the game finished and decided that it was a prior appointment. So that's something which is slightly amusing to me, that it suddenly came up. But yeah, it's an opportunity. If someone's not playing, it's an opportunity for someone like Mark Chapman. He's been around. He's been doing well for New Zealand A. I've played against him. He's been in system for 4-5 years. So every time, when someone like Kane Williamson doesn't play, it's very difficult to fill those shoes. You cannot just compare any player to get in and expect them to play at Williamson's way. But yeah, I mean, someone's loss is someone's opportunity. So that's something which whoever gets into the playing 11 would be thinking right now.
But of course, the man who will be leading from the front is part of a group of players, an elite group almost, if you can call it, New Zealand's class of 2008 from the Under-19 World Cup. So many photographs and several quizzes when you saw the baby faces of a Williamson and a Southee were thrown out there. And they've been around for a while. Not sure how long they'll be around, but quite a few big names came out of that 2008 Under-19 World Cup, from Williamson, Corey Anderson, Trent Boult, Michael Bracewell, Tim Southee, of course. There you have it. Look at their squad from 2008. India, of course, had a pretty decent squad then as well. But let's focus on New Zealand.
I mean, look, I think this is probably one of their most successful campaigns as well. They had a really good team. Most of them have gone on to play international cricket and become really successful at that. As we spoke on the show before, if your health of your under-19 system is good, then the chances of you doing well in international cricket is very high. And New Zealand is a standing example of that World Cup. If I remember right, I think it was Virat Kohli's World Cup when we won that World Cup in Malaysia, and phenomenal team. You can see how a few cricketers have gone on to achieve greatness, and then you see a couple of names which have played but they're finding their feet. One is Michael Bracewell, one is Hamish Rutherford. Both of them obviously trying to get into the team. There's a bit of George Worker as well, who's obviously done well. So overall, I think that was a solid team, and the beauty is Kane Williamson was captain, and he's captain even today in the national team, and he's done a really good job. I mean, 2015 finalist, 2019 finalist, the World Test Championship winners, 2021 T20 finalist. I mean, he's got a pretty much flawless record, so to say. He's been fabulous as a leader for them. It's a country that always, as I said, might not look that good and flashy in bilaterals, but come the ICC tournaments, they know how to hunt like a pack of wolves, and they're really good at that.
But at the moment, their pack of wolves are still the pack of wolves that started in 2008 and grew into where they are today. Since 2014, you'd expect if 2008 was good, who all came out of the next edition and the edition after that. After 2014, there's only two names we can come up with. One is Kyle Jamieson, the other is Finn Allen. Brief mentions for Rachin Ravindra and Tim Seifert. But when you see the 2008 squad, Parthiv, you'd imagine that, okay, we can think of another 10 names that should have come out between 14 and 22. The answer is no.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the way DK is rightly put, I think under-19 cricket is the base of any country's growth. I think, these are the guys who, if you really do well, that gives you confidence, that gives you, when you're going into World Cup, having played one, that, you are playing against international sides, almost players who, maybe in a couple of years' time is going to play and represent their own countries. So that's very important for any country to, have a great under-19 system, which India has. I mean, if you look at India has been playing almost parallelly to how many games India's senior team plays, and that is the reason why all of these guys they don't get into alien conditions. If you say Prithvi Shaw, Shubman Gill, or whoever, you just name them, all these under-19 players have already been to South Africa, they've already been to New Zealand, they've already been to Australia or Bangladesh or Sri Lanka, wherever. They know the conditions, they know how to prepare. So I think for any country's progress, you have to have a good under-19 system, which India has. And New Zealand, obviously, now when we are talking about the Williamson, if there is no Williamson, then who? If there is no Trent Bolt, then who? If Saudi goes, do they have another bowler who can get into that system? The answer is actually no, and that could be the reason why from 2014 after this lot they might just struggle a bit.
Yeah, they certainly will. We'll see what happens with their senior side at the moment, because some of the class of 2008 are still very much there, other than Trent Bolt, who we've spoken about in the previous games, not signed the central contract. But good news from McLean Park in Napier is that all the weather appears to have cleared. The covers are off. The blazers are coming on very shortly, and they don't wear blazers anymore, at least in this format of the game. But at least toss attire is all set. About 3 minutes to go for the toss. Team Saudi will be walking out for New Zealand. In terms of India's playing 11, we may have tried to surmise on it at the end of the second game. You threw out a radical suggestion of giving Surya a rest, but whether or not that happens, do you see any possible changes for India walking out today?
Well, I'll still stick by what I said. I feel that Surya could take a break. Anyway, the ODIs are coming up very, very soon, and he'll obviously have another crack for another 3 games. So I would love to see a Sanju Samson being thrown there. I think he really deserves this opportunity. He's done really well for India in the recent past. And I would like to see either a Bhuvi or an Arshdeep take a break and give the opportunity to Umran Malik. And that will be really good, because I think we're all very excited for him. And let's not forget Harshal Patel. I mean, he's done no wrong, so to say. He's been traveling with the team in the World Cup, hasn't found a place in this 11 here. So, I mean, emotionally, I feel that if they could give him an opportunity, it's great. But knowing Hardik, I think they'll want to win the series. And I'm pretty sure that they'll probably walk in with the same 11, because they want to win a game of cricket. They want to win. You have to understand it's a new coach, so to say, there, and a new captain there. And they want to, put their foot and say that, this is what we want, and draw a line in the sand and say, we want to win tournaments. And for that, winning bilaterals is the start. And they'd want to walk out there with the same team and produce a similar result.
It's a strange one when you talk about, maybe 10, 15 years ago, when you would say, okay, don't touch a winning combination. But when you look at a country like India, and when you look at the bench strength, yeah, you can almost say don't touch a winning combination could even be a superstition. Yeah. Because you look at the bench and say, well, these guys are as good as the guys who are
that's exactly what I was going to say. I know that the guys who might just get replaced, or if Bhuvi takes a rest, or Arshdeep takes a rest, or Surya takes a rest, I think whoever is going to come in is good enough to win you a game of cricket, because they've been around, they've been doing really well. Umran Malik, DK rightly put about Harshal Patel has been around, so he would also want to get a game as well. So I would still be tempted to give Umran Malik a go and Sanju Samson a go, because I feel that they are definitely good enough. So it's not that if we get them, we are going to go with a B side or someone who's not good enough. I think they would probably may not be playing. I think no one can play at the level of Surya at this point of time. They cannot replace him. But yeah, but someone like Sanju and Umran Malik, that I would definitely like to see them play.
Yeah, so if Sanju does get a go, you would have a 1, 2, 3 keepers.
That's good to see. 2 keepers in the three keepers in the studio. So we're all happy. More the keepers, the merrier.
And of course, we started the discussion with Jagadisan, another keeper. Let's not forget that. But in terms of New Zealand, we should have a quick look at their squad, which has one key change to it. We've already mentioned Kane Williamson. They only had a 13-member squad, which has now been replaced by Mark Chapman coming in for Kane Williamson. So that could be a like-for-like replacement. But the only other talking point was, which DKU mentioned, about getting in Michael Bracewell.
Add a little more firepower in the batting. It could be a tough call, and I say that because you have to understand India's middle order is filled with right-handers. So will Michael Bracewell find a way to bowl through those middle order? I think that might be hard unless they bowl him with the new ball and use him for a couple of overs against Ishan and Rishabh. That would be the matchup, so to say. So for me, it's an interesting call for them, but I would like them to do it because I think there's a little more power they required in that batting to get through that middle phase with a lot of runs. And Mark Chapman will pretty much play this game, you get the feeling, because he's a straight swap for Kane Williamson. So to bring in Michael Bracewell would be a good idea, but I can understand if they don't, because the bowling is something that they've always worked with in a certain manner where they pretty straightforward with how they bowl, in the sense that they set their fields and bowl to the field consistently. And Mark Chapman might not be a good matchup to the middle order that India has with a lot of right-handers there.
Yeah, well, the news that we can bring to you is that New Zealand have in fact won the toss, a delayed toss, and they've decided to bat first. So a slight change as far as they are concerned. Change that they have in their personnel is that, as we were discussing, Michael Bracewell does not get into the 11, but the obvious replacement is Chapman in for KW.
I think as DK rightly put that, they might be thinking it, but they are actually, banking on those all-rounders which they have. Jimmy Neesham can be their all-rounder. Mitchell Santner can be that all-rounder. And with the Indian batting lineup, Ish Sodhi becomes an important bowler, the leg spinner attacking option, which, they might be looking at. So I think that's the reason why probably they've gone unchanged. I mean, not unchanged, just a replacement for Williamson there.
Yep, just a forced change, and we had such a build-up to Team India and wishing and wondering about Sanju Samson, Umran Malik. But I think the other side of the coin that we mentioned, Hardik Pandya, very focused, wanting to make this 2-0, just gone with the one change. And we'll just confirm what that change is for you. Washington Sundar is out, and in comes Harshal Patel. So one of the names we mentioned gets a go, if not Umran Malik or Sanju Samson.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think we're not sure if it's a niggle, but obviously Washington didn't have the best of starts to his bowling spell yesterday, even though he came back to get Devon Conway's wicket. His first over went for plenty, and Kane Williamson took him on as well. So maybe they feel that off-spinner, they have one in Huda, so they can get away with another off-spinner and have the option of playing a fast bowler. But it's good to see Harshal Patel playing. I think he deserves a spot in this 11, and I'm happy that they've given him the opportunity. It would have been very easy to overlook Harshal and get a Umran Malik in, but I think the fact that they've given him an opportunity, I in many ways applaud them, because they're backing somebody who was part of this team just now. So that is really good to see.
I think see, one of the reason could be the dimension of the grounds. In APR's ground is very, very small from the side. So with New Zealand middle order, everyone is right-handed. So that could be the reason why they don't want to throw in off spinner. And with Harshal Patel getting in, I think that's another case of someone. Yes, he's a fantastic bowler, but he can bat also. He can talk. So that's something which I think Indian team is looking forward to in a T20 format. You already have Deepak Hooda, someone who got into World Cup side because he was bowling. The secondary skill was there. His bowling. Harshal Patel is out and out bowler, but someone who can actually bat, who has opened for Haryana as well. So that could have also gone in his favor, because India has six batters, and at number 7, you want someone who can bat as well. So that could be the reason why Harshal's getting a nod as well.
The other reason we could possibly look at is, I know they were at the end of New Zealand's innings, it was a few bonus wickets, shall we say, but the fact that Deepak Hooda stood up and allowed Hardik Pandya to say that, look, I can even be your frontline off spinner in a sense, which means you could say that, okay, fine, Washi, well played, but we wanting to get another fast bowling option in there.
True. I think the fact that the ground dimensions sometimes dictate the 11 that you choose is obviously an interesting thought. But, having said the ground dimensions are small, interestingly, in their top 6 batters, 3 are left-handers today. Mark Chapman, James Neesham and Devon Conway. So playing Washington wouldn't have been that bad, but I understand where they're coming from. I think they would rather back a Harshal Patel because looks like the fast bowlers have a lot more purchase from this wicket. So it's understandable, but as we discussed before, they are playing the best 11. They're not giving opportunities to anybody just because they feel that they should get an opportunity. It's pretty much like, this is Team India, we want to win this series. You have to earn the right to be part of this 11. We're going to try and play the best 11 every time we walk on the field. And I like that attitude as well. So anybody who gets their opportunity now will be hungry because they know that it could be few and hard to come by. So they try and make most use of those opportunities.
But in a sense, it's a almost a like for like replacement if you cut out the bowling, because what Harshal Patel can do down the order, so can Washington Sundar. Perhaps the one difference being that Washington Sundar has been used further up the order, particularly in domestic cricket and even in IPL.
Yeah, but not here, not in the Indian team. The kind of batting order we have, I don't see him, probably getting into a 1, 2, 3, 4 position because they're very much, they've sealed their position. Yes, Washi is a very good batsman. It's not nothing to take away from him. But if he has to, find a position in this Indian team, I think he'll have to probably bat at number 7, and he's been working on it. And having spoken to him, he's working on hitting those big sixes. His strike rate says it 142. If you're batting at number 7, your strike rate should be around that. And he's been working on it. He has the best thing about him is he's got a very good technique. He started off as an opener batsman, so he has basic technique. But he's working on those range hitting. He's working on hitting those pockets. So I think that's something which could be useful in future. So yeah, I think with Harshal Patel, I think as DK mentioned, with those lefties, he anyways comes in and bowls those 20 slow ones. So so I think it's that could be, they must have thought about that also, because slow run is his strength. That's he's found a place in the side by deceiving batsmen with his slow ones, and plus the big hitting skills as well.
Yeah, the flip side of what we saw, mentioning that Washington Sundar potentially comes up the order. We've seen him occasionally, but the occasionally is very occasional. A total of 25 balls he's played in his entire T20 career. Not just T20I, in T20 career in the power play.
So, that goes to show that, we can't read too much into the stats right now. I know he's open for Tamil Nadu. They've given him opportunities up the order in T20s, maybe a couple of games like you said, and he's probably not got as many runs. But if he needs to make that number 7 spot his own, he needs to deliver a lot with the bat. I think that will give them the confidence that he's somebody who can deliver with the bat at number 7 and 8. The stats show one thing for sure, the strike rate is there. 140 is not a bad strike rate. Obviously, we shouldn't be looking at the average. That's very, very misleading. Like the other day, he came in 3 balls to go, first ball, he gets out, and that's going to pull down your average. I'm not even bothered about the average, but the strike rate is at a decent place. But he knows every time he needs to come in, he needs to hit a boundary or 2. And for that, he's really worked on it. And I can see that it will come. He has the skill set, just like PP said, he has the basics of batting right. So that will keep him in good stead, but also the ability to hit boundaries is a learning process for him. He is there. Last year in the IPL, he started very well and then he got injured and obviously couldn't play. But he started with a match where he scored really well in the first match. So he's shown glimpses of it, but he has to show consistency with his bat, and that will give them a lot of confidence.
Well, no Washington Sundar in the 11, so we will, of course, park that for the moment Harshal Patel comes in for India. But even before Harshal Patel gets a go with the ball, the man who will have ball in hand at the very top, in all likelihood, will be Arshdeep Singh, who's suddenly become this new sensation, filling the shoes of Jasprit Bumrah in the World Cup. And DK, you saw him up close over there. Forget whatever he showed in the IPL. When you're suddenly thrown in the deep end, wearing that blue jersey, and knowing that specifically you would not have been there had a Jasprit Bumrah been playing, that added responsibility suddenly, and he seems to take it in his stride. What's he like as a character?
Yeah, so that's where I wanted to start with. Actually, him as a person. I really got along well with him because he's a very fun-loving guy. Somebody who's always has a couple of jokes up his sleeve. You know how fast bowlers are. A typical fun guy to be around. What I like most about him is his mental strength. I'll give you an example. In Asia Cup, we all know he dropped an absolute dolly of a catch against Pakistan. But the next over, 1 over 7 runs to win, he took it to the last ball. He had that courage in him. He had that. He didn't let that affect him. Even after that match got over, when he came back, he was himself. So he knows how to deal with failures, and I really like that about him. I must correct one thing. Even if Bumrah was there, he would have played in the 11. There is no doubt about that. It was Bhuvi, Bumrah and Arshdeep. In the limited time that he had played for India, he had shown a lot of skill, especially at the back end of the innings, where he's very clear with his Yorkers. He's got a good slow one, and he throws in the odd bouncer as well. He was picked actually for T20 India mainly because of how well he bowled at the death for Punjab. I think he did really well for Punjab Kings, and that kept him in good stead even in international cricket. He was delivering. But what is amazing to see is how well he's bowling with the new ball now. He's able to swing it both ways, trouble a lot of good batters. If there is a little bit of swing in the wicket, he is a handful because he can swing it both ways. And he's a very relaxed, laid-back character. Even if you hit him for a couple of boundaries, he doesn't get phased. He knows exactly what his strengths are. And I like, you need level-headed bowlers, especially if they're bowling some tough overs. And he definitely has a very level head. I can promise you that.
So he has definitely put the stamp on what we've been talking on this show since the emergence of Arshdeep Singh. We've always been talking about his. We all know that he has skills, but everyone here were talking about the mental strength, the ability to handle the failure and making a comeback. He spoke about one game, but there's another game as well where we had to defend 7 runs and he took it to 5 balls. So that's something which is great to see. And for me, I think he bowled in a very, very difficult situations or difficult times for Punjab Kings. I think that has made him really strong, that he knew that, if Punjab is banking on him, they were getting him into the similar times where, Mumbai Indians used to get Jasprit Bumrah. So, that kind of responsibility was given to him by Punjab Kings. And I think that has developed him as a bowler as well.
And that too, I think I remember one particular game where he was given the responsibility ahead of 2 international bowlers who would have been looked at as a first choice in that game.
Yeah, he did that. I mean, first thing which comes to my mind was a game against Rajasthan.
Riley Meredith was one of the
Rajasthan Royals, where he defended 10 when Sanju was batting on 80 or 90, and he came in and I think he got him out at over cover. But and before that ball, he was hit for 6. So, that's something, just to ability to forget what has happened in the last ball and making sure that sticking to process, sticking to the strength, that's something which, stands out from Arshdeep Singh. And we always picked him as a youngster to watch out for this World Cup. He has definitely, emerged as one of the strongest contender for India who can serve the country for a long time.
Interestingly, GB, we spoke about the class of 2008 for New Zealand. The class of Prithvi Shaw, coached by Rahul Dravid, the team that literally steamrolled a World Cup and, went on to win. Arshdeep was part of the team. Arshdeep, Shubman Gill, Prithvi Shaw. So it's very obvious, when you get those kind of players through the ranks, Shivam Mavi, Kamlesh Nagarkoti, some terrific players they've had. And I think when you get those kind of players through the ranks, it's just great to see. Arshdeep, in fact, was the last to get into the Indian team from that team till now. And he's been really successful in the limited stint that he's had with Team India.
Yeah, but I'm glad you corrected me there in terms of the replacement for Bumrah versus him. So technically, Shami would have been that person, but certainly his role would have changed in Bumrah's absence. And that added responsibility that he would have got up front, maybe is going to stand him in good stead going forward. Next steps ahead for Arshdeep Singh.
Yes and no. Yes, because he must have thought about it. But when Bumrah left the team, I think Bhuvi was the one that obviously was going to be the spearhead of the attack, because he's the one who's played much longer in terms of volumes of T20 cricket for India. But what was great to see is him sharing the workload with Bhuvi. Like in a Pakistan game, 90,000 crowd, coming in there, being brave enough to get Babar Azam with a full ball, which has been planned for a long time, and then have the courage to bowl a bouncer at the right time to a Rizwan. So it just shows that he's a thinking cricketer. Yes, you do all your planning and it was all spoken about and he was ready for it, but to execute it to perfection requires another art as well. And that is what he was really good at. And he was consistent through the World Cup. Every game, he just kept getting better. And you got the feel that this is a banker, we can rely on him. First 2 overs, if there is a little bit of swing, he's going to come and bowl some good balls and probably get batsmen out. So that was really good. Even the South African game, getting the Quinton de Kock's wicket up front. Some good spells there from him in the World Cup. And I really do think he's going to make it to the ODI team very, very soon, if not already.
Well, one person we've spoken about a lot, and we can continue to do so. The cheeky suggestion that perhaps he could be given a rest, but take a brave person to have Sky sit after that knock the other night. So he's very much in the 11. India will be chasing whatever New Zealand put on the board because they've opted to bat. But if we try and somehow deconstruct, which is really difficult, we've talked about his preparation, DK, in the last game, but if we have to try and deconstruct the sustainability of this brand of cricket for Suryakumar Yadav going forward.
And that is a phenomenal part about him, because somebody who's a very hand-eye player, to be consistent in T20s at that strike rate is not easy. And you can see why he is the best batter in the world, and by a distance, only because with that kind of skill and the shots that he chooses to play, he is able to be consistent with it. That is really difficult, because you're playing high-risk shots almost throughout your inning and still end up being consistent is a tough skill. And that is what is so special about him. And he's just not been consistent now. He's done well for Mumbai Indians for about 3 years now. He's done well in the limited opportunities that he's got for India as well. He's a pretty late entrant into the India team, but he is making most use of his time there. What is actually tough is when hand-eye players actually run out of form. Sometimes they can find it really hard, because one of the key things for them is not the footwork, is their ability to get into good positions. The head position becomes very important. So that will be an interesting challenge when he is thrown a curveball at some point in his career. But for the moment, he's flying high, and the position that he gets into and his ability to predict what a bowler can do and then use his wrist to get to balls which are not probably easily gotten and then play the field. I think he is second to nobody that has ever played the sport in terms of playing a field. Like, you can set a field to him and he'll almost beat it consistently. That is his greatest skill actually, because to get into positions early and constantly beat the field that is being set is a very tough art, because the bowler, once a field is set, decides, okay, this is where I'm not going to give him runs because I have the field up here. But then to challenge the bowler constantly, and we're talking about the best of the best, and beat the field that he has, that is an art in itself, and kudos and credit to him, because he's doing it not once, not twice, but every time he goes into bat, he literally baffles everybody watching. But definitely the captain and the bowler are made to look very silly at times.
Yeah, I'm glad he mentioned both together, because on the one hand, captain is setting fields, on the other hand, bowlers having plans, and neither of them can be executed. But from his point of view, obviously, he'll know that. And when you have trouble planning against somebody, for Surya himself, when he thinks about a knock at the end of the day, I mean, even he's human, probably, he'll have to see that, okay, how can I continue this at a consistent level?
I think, see, when just to start with, as a captain or as a bowler, there is nothing where you can plan, or you can't tell him that, we'll bowl bouncer to him or we'll bowl slower one to him. If you don't give him pace, he might struggle, which is not happening. Every time whatever ball's been thrown to him, he has answer for it. But yeah, for Surya to making sure that he keeps on doing what he is doing and gets the routine going, I think that's something very, very important. As DK rightly mentioned, that when you are playing only with hand and eye coordination, it is very important to you have to get into good positions. Fitness is something which is going to be very, very important, because if you have that leg strength and if you have those footwork faster, then you can get into those positions. At this point of time, the biggest strength of Surya is to getting into those positions early. Yes, he is anticipating where bowlers are going to bowl, but I think going forward, I feel that as a bowler, they might just try and double bluff him. Set a field for something and bowl something else. That could be the only solution they might have. But getting into those positions, that's his key at this point of time, and he has to hold on to it for as long as possible.
Yeah, he'd love to just pack it in a bag and keep it. Well, I can tell you, one sky is in form, the other sky is not. The one that is in form is Suryakumar Yadav. The one that's not in form is the New Zealand skies. Yeah, that's what we wanted. We liked the color blue, and that's not happening. It briefly came out just to allow the teams to have a delayed toss, and then once again, from the sea, out came a few more clouds, out came another drizzle. The big covers are out again. So we know that while the toss is out of the way, New Zealand have won the toss. They've decided to bat first. No Kane Williamson. In comes Mark Chapman. For India, no Washington Sundar. In comes Harshal Patel. Those are the changes we have, but we are not going to have, and it's already a delayed start, we're not going to have that delayed start. It's going to be further delayed. So we will be keeping an eye on things. But before we leave, let's get our good friend Joy Bhattacharya's little brain teaser for the day out. So you can have something to do while you're waiting for the game to start. Let's see what Joy has in store for us today. The previous holders of this partnership record were a two-time IPL Orange Cap winner and a player of the match in a T20 World Cup final. Identify the record and the current holders. When we talk about records, well, Joy seems often to be very topical. Whether he's topical or not in this one is anybody's guess. So look at the records, look at the clues he's given. Hashtag Cricbuzz Live, be the first to give us the answer back. We will, of course, keep a close eye on the weather in Napier and bring you much more cricket, much more conversation. But for now, as we play the waiting game, it's all we have from Cricbuzz Live.